it. Volunteer meeting. There we go. I think we're back on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and Twitter. Gotta love that monopolized internet. So if you were not able to come to our volunteer meeting the other night, that is so fun. We've had a couple high schoolers drop in and say they want to be a part. So we'll do another volunteer meeting. Just stay checked into the socials, and we'll be doing another volunteer event just to let you all know what's going on. If you're not able to make it, which will probably be Friday because it's a pretty varsity week for me, right? Where Norfolk can fly is a big deal. It's a pretty varsity week. Then we will ask that our volunteers show up at the hangar at 8 a.m. on Saturday. Family free family fun event. Need you there, want you there, love to have you there, even if it's just to have good, clean fun. Ben and Jerry's truck is going to be there. Local food business is going to be there. That's just starting out. We're really excited about this event. I hope you can be there. Secondly, as you all know, we are sort of winding our way into the summer, and that's going to be a big push. We will start needing certified doers to be a part of our efforts to ensure that that people know about the new districts and that people know about me as their representative. So be on the lookout for opportunities. I always give. And this is one of those things that I'm going to be asking you to just take your neighborhood, take your block. We just want people to understand what this is about, why it's important to have the good representation, and how we are on a mission with a vision. Sounds good? If you have any community events, remember I will pop off on those community events at 6:55. So go ahead and put them in the chat, whether it's if you got something or you just want me to share some information with folks here, please put it in the chat by 6:55, and so that I can go ahead and make sure that I'm sharing that with and for you. Let's get into it. Today is not going to be the most fulfilling or rewarding because we've got a very serious topic to talk about here today. As you all know, last week or a couple weeks ago, if you were with us, I talked a little bit about youth absenteeism in our public schools, which is really high, right? They are debating whether or not absenteeism is going to be a part of the accreditation standards, which is a whole nother thing. We are in a position where not that absenteeism, we haven't felt the effects of absenteeism. And if I'm saying absenteeism, you're not understanding what that means. That is chronic absenteeism youth, I believe, that have been absent for 10 days or more, unexcused absence for 10, it's either 10 or 18, forgive me, my brain this morning. But they are categorized as missing more school than is needed, right? And those numbers are up everywhere. Everybody's numbers are up on youth absenteeism. I'm saying this to you all from a place of, I need you also to be thinking about solutions. The real part is that we've got, the children belong to all of us. I don't care what anybody says. That's my belief. That's how I do business, is that for better or for worse, our young citizens, our young adults, our youth, our NFAs, that we owe it to them to pay attention to what's happening and to be a part of the solutions. When we talk young adults, these are adults in training. And when I look at the way folks are not being able to go to high school, there are a number of reasons, but when we have our youngest of citizens not being able to show up to school for whatever reason, that's a problem for us as a society. Now, directly connected to youth homelessness is our youth absenteeism is homelessness. So the youth homelessness rate in Virginia is now close to pre-pandemic levels. Do y'all hear me? I'm going to say that to you. Uh, it's returning to it's close to its pre-pandemic. During the pandemic, we were doing a different job of taking care of folks and being abreast of what's happening into communities. And when they aren't in school, they're somewhere. When they finish school and there's nowhere to go, right? And where is there to go? We got a whole nother problem. So I want you all to drop in the chat. Do you or anybody you know right now is suffering from homelessness? Do you know a youth? Do your kids know a youth that is suffering from homelessness? So what I do know is that, oh goodness gracious, we're falling apart here. We're falling apart here. What we do know is that over 9,000 students are classified, right? We've already got systems in place to acknowledge who in our school system is and is not suffering from homelessness. And like I said, we're coming close to the pandemic. So 9,000 students have been classified as homeless in this current school year. That pandemic era provided extra funding for programs. So we had these, trying to get Instagram over here. We had these programs like rental assistance, food assistance, all these things that were ready, that were there for these families that are facing this. And a lot of that has expired and which has resulted in some increased student homelessness. It's important that as a community and as a legislator that we take a great look at this, that we consider how this is affecting our neighborhood. So communities and legislators, we've got to start coming up with measures to unwind for students and their families. The programs helping the homeless for students, like the Virginia's program for education of homeless youth and children and youth. We've got to do more public awareness efforts. Hey, good morning. I don't have my coveralls today, but I'm here. We've got to do a better effort. We've got to do a better job of just simply establishing. I'm trying to get this right, Doers, as this morning has been kind of varsity. I got my Norfolk and Fly on the brain, on the brain, but also our children on the brain. So whether that's awareness, whether that is public awareness, grants for school divisions that are available, we've got to do better. And additionally, as a legislator, what I do know is we've got to prioritize allocating funds to help with food, clothing for the students that are facing homelessness. That what happens is, as you guys know, is that these problems compound and then they create their own sense of trauma, right? And when that trauma happens, it happens to all of us, right? It can be shuffled around, that trauma, from place to place, which can affect their ability, which can affect their emotional and physical ability, and also lead to chronic absenteeism, which, again, this is something at the state level that we are still not in the know as to whether or not this is going to be a part of accreditation standards. And so I believe to tackle this issue, communities should also, we've got to start putting things up in some of these motels. We've got to start talking with our service provider community, create awareness through word of mouth. Y'all ask the questions, right? Yeah. Ask the questions. Sometimes just talking to people will get you information that you need to get them to the right place. Let families know who aren't in school, know that they can come to school and they can get help that they need, but also knowing what's there within your own school. It is very unfortunate as these pandemic protections expire for many things. We've talking about this with Medicaid. We're talking about this with resources for students. We are going to be in a space where people were heavily reliant on these stopgap measures for a time that was unprecedented. We had to take unprecedented measures, but we've got to make a space and place for people to be able to survive. And I'm saying survive. I should want to be saying thrive, but to be able to survive in what this world looks like post-pandemic. I'm going into the comments. Here we go. So, good morning. Shar says, uh, children need to feel safe coming to school. Bullying, I believe, is real. That's no joke. That is no joke. That is why I say that there are other resources, because it's not just about being unhoused, right? And this is, I'm going to speak from my little lived experience. When we were unhoused, um, we were living, we had moved out to the burbs, and we were in living in the city in one of my grandmother's friend's basement, and that basement flooded. It had all kind all kinds of nastiness, right? My mom did the best job she could to make sure that our clothes are right, like we didn't go to school stinking and all that good stuff. But that was an ABCD moment for my mother, knowing that uh, we were in a very trying time. Some parents are not able to go above and beyond the call of duty to make sure that their kid can go to school clean, to make sure that they have the good clothes. What I mean, good clothes is wearable clothes. I'm not even talking about name brand. And so when Shar, who is someone who's working in the school building, says like bullying is real, that's real. Why would I want to walk into that already dealing with my trauma for a number of things? And that's just one example. And people, the thing about young people is they pick up on things. They'll know. They'll talk junk about people not having a place to live. They may see someone somewhere and then come bring it to school and start talking junk. That's real, which is why I think a lot of the supports that we can provide is got to come from communities, and it's got to come from the money that we're supposed to be providing to support. We got to do better. Even this one is really hard to talk about because I know what it's like to be that kid that's trying to figure out, one, how I'm gonna get to school, because we've moved out of district, right? Like we moved far enough away from my school. I have public transportation. I'm not really sure how. I got little siblings. Like there's a lot to think about. Something some of us have never had to conjure up. We've never had to really fathom some of the things these young people do. But this is how these issues are interconnected, right? I said in Virginia, remember in Virginia, 9,000 students are classified as homeless in the Commonwealth. 9,000. We are not on the higher end. I'm just making sure. During the pandemic, we were at about 10,000, and now we're going down to those numbers have dropped. Oh, that statement was from Charlene, the other Char. Okay. Oh no, no, no. Oh, that's right, Charlene. I look at. So sorry, you guys. On here we have Charlene, and then Charlene Christopher and Charlotte Covington. So yes, that was from Charlene Covington, and then Char. I mean, that was from Charlene Christopher, and Shar Covington is a educator, and I appreciate your service. Yes, 9,000, and we looked at it by year. If we look at it by year, what we've seen in Virginia from in 2017, we were up. 2017, 2018, we're at about 10,000, and during the pandemic, uh, we dropped a little bit. And then we increased a little bit by so, but now we're at 2003, we're at 8,998 homeless students in Virginia. Yes. And kind of, I would be saying wow too. I want to put this, there are, and let me say this, these morning dews are not to be downtrodden. They're not to be with a sense of hopelessness. This is why I'm giving you specific actions. You all know that there are motels in your community that have that, or in your cities, wherever you are, that have children there, right? That have, we know this. If I go to Harbor Freight, I can see the hotel across the way, their kids outside out front. When I drive down Baker Road to get to my work partner's house, I see the hotel that has the kids playing out there at the hotel. And we know. So that is why I'm saying at some point we're going to have to figure out how, if this is something that is near and dear to your heart, because I do not expect that everything be your issue, right? every issue. We all can't hone in on every single issue. I need you to find the thing that you are passionate about and be brilliant at that, because someone needs you. School divisions are trying, right? School divisions are actually trying to address the issue. And what Kennick says, wow. Yeah, wow. Yeah, thereabouts. That's just classified as homeless. That's not unhoused. That's not what we actually know. Good morning. That's not actually what we know. If I'm reading this correctly, you want to hear this. Loudoun County, which is one of the, and think about where we are. We're in Hampton Roads. We're not in Northern Virginia, which those school districts tend to have a lot of resources and a lot of ways to get things done. Loudoun County, one of the most affluent counties in the country, reported its highest number of student homelessness in Virginia at the start of the 2022-23 school year, with about 1,240 cases, according to the Department of Education. It's not just an us problem, and I think we need to understand that it is not just our community. This is across the country, but it's real here. Which area has the highest population? Kennick asked. Let's see. Let me take a look. The highest right now, based off this list, I have Loudoun as the highest. Virginia Beach has about 308 people. I know that's where you are, Kennick, so I'm putting that out there. Has about 308 cases. This is according to the Virginia Department of Education. And I'm a person, I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to also say where you can go fish. If you go to Department of Education's homepage, you'll be able to get this information. Like I said, a lack of residence isn't the only challenge that students that are facing homelessness or that are unhoused are facing. It is transportation. I remember that. How do I get from A to B? So we've got a lot of, I want to say not a lot of small issues, but a lot of issues, right, to sort of to look at. What happens when, and there is and I can't think of what it's called, but you let the school bus transportation know that they can pick up students from particular places, from hotels, from places like that. But when you're like a kid, like who was in my situation, where your school is, you're right outside. I was right outside the suburbs, right outside the city of Chicago, but I was unhoused 20, 30, 15, 20 minutes into the city. It just doesn't work out that way. So getting back down where there was public transportation is a thing. And so when I think about folks that have been, because I've had it in my community, they were unhoused here, or they lived here in Norfolk, and then the only place that they could find was in Suffolk, right? Temporarily, right? And that's still temporary, and they're still trying to keep the kids whole, keep a job, and get them. I won't lie to you, just had kids come to my house in the morning, right? Like, that's real. Because I would rather get in trouble for making sure they go to school, even though that they're out of district and they don't have an address, or that they have an address, then have them not be in school. And that's the thing we have to wrestle with, is that we all make assumptions about why people are doing things, what motivates them, and the past judgment. But I will say again, there's a space and a place. As a legislator, I know that there are spaces and places for us to be resource driven. Hitting on Charlene's point of there's clothing, there's food assets, there are partnerships. I don't believe everything is going to happen that is going to be, we're going to fix all problems on public funding, that it is going to take public-private partnerships. But you've got places like the food bank right now who are also struggling with getting donations and resources and things like that. So that's why I'm doing a call to the certified doers. If this is not your thing, if it's like, you know what, and no one judges, right? We're not judging up over here, because we all got stuff. There's enough problems for us all to be solving something to go around. What I'm saying is that we know a thing. As my friend says, my chief of staff says, if we know a thing, we can plan for a thing. So if we know someone that is really passionate about food resources, about clothing resources, about our youth absenteeism, I'm working on getting a meeting together to talk more about this with our local elected, specifically the absenteeism. And remember the intersection, now the intersection to homelessness or unhoused, being unhoused. We're working on those things to see what I want to know how I can be a better resource and use my social capital and my power and my influence to be helpful. But there's some ways to go. I want to say this again: if you have an event or anything that you want me to share here, please make sure that on Instagram or Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube and Twitter that you drop it in the comments so that I can share it. Vince says the McKinney, that's what it was. Thank you, Vince, for that. The McKinney-Vento services for children is a big deal. Transportations for housing, insecure or unhoused children can be provided. Yes. Yep. That's what I couldn't think of it. I remember walking, and to be quite honest, I remember walking. Vince and I actually were knocking doors at one point, and we were walking, and I don't remember the situation, but we were talking about the services for unhoused children. And Vince, who is also went to school, shout out to him, Norfolk State, master's in social work for school counseling, talked to me about the McKinney-Vento, and that's McKinney, McKinney, McKinney-Vento, VENTO. I'm saying that for folks on Instagram because you may not be able to see his comment over here. Resources for unhoused students. We have to be able to identify to get the resources. And oftentimes, because you may be out of district, and that was the thing for us, is that because we were out of district, my mother, I don't think she wanted them to know because she didn't want us to get kicked out of school. And we were in a school district that was very, their bias showed a lot towards Black children. To be really clear, my school district ended up finding out that we were unhoused and that we were coming to a neighbor's house to get to school every morning. And they decided that my brothers and my sisters did not deserve to go to school, even though we, didn't have an address, but they wanted to keep me and wanted to keep me in their school system. And that may sound nice. This is something that I live with still, that because I was the student council kid, the track, the state level track athlete, grades were great. They were willing to say, we'll kick your two little brothers out, one in elementary school, one in middle school. We'll kick your brother and your sister in high school out, but you're the good one. You could stay. And I'm grateful and I'm hopeful that that is not what we see in our school districts, but that is real. That even school districts can exacerbate or create more problems if we are not being attentive and are not being a community on some of these issues. But it's 55. I haven't seen any events in the comments. I'm just making sure I didn't. A good advocacy group, you all, if you're interested in this and you want to connect to a group that is doing a lot of advocacy, I'm going to recommend Voices for Virginia's Children. I'm going to say that again, Voices for Virginia's Children. They are an advocacy organization that does a lot on children's issues in the Commonwealth. I'll say it again, Voices for Virginia's Children. Their logo is like purple and yellow, I believe. But we've got to be attentive as these pandemic, as we start to see the pandemic resources expire. I just say it's just going to get real. It's just going to get real. It's happening with the Medicaid situation with family caregivers. We're seeing that already. We're sending, actually, our caucus is sending a letter to the secretary to say, hey, we need you to figure this out. Parents have been caregivers. We need to make sure that the funding that we provide, Medicaid reimbursements are, and it's quite frankly insulting here in the Commonwealth. It's insulting, and this is why folks aren't able to get the caregivers that they need, because there's no way to live off of this stuff. Money's running out, so communities got to step in. And what I know is I'm looking for people that want to start getting some resources and signs out to, if your organization is already doing that, and an organization that is going to some of the hotels and spaces like that to provide information and resources about how we can be helpful, please hit me up. You can email us, or you can send it to the Delegate account. Actually, I meant to put the banner on here. I haven't been doing that in the past couple of weeks. You can hit us up on the social Jackie, the number 4 Norfolk, email the Delegate account, which is DELJ as in for Jackie, glass, like my last name, glass of water, at house.virginiaspelled.gov, at house.virginiaspelled.gov. That's Del J Glass. If you're on all the other socials, you can see it scrolling across the screen. We also have our website. And if you want to be a part of, us to be a part of anything that you have going on, please let us know. We did pass some legislation in 2022 allowing for youth that are 14 and over to access shelter without a guardian, because that's real, because that is real. But we think about that 14. And we're trying to help manage childhood trauma from the school perspective, but this is hard work. This is all hands that have the bandwidth on deck. So I look forward to you all being supportive. We are hoping that we get a budget done. We're seeing a lot of things, you all. We know that at the state level, we did not pass a full budget. We did not pass any amendments to the budget. We have a budget, but because we're in an odd year, this is where we only make changes to our present budget. And in the budget right now, Voice of Virginia's and other groups are monitoring decision. There is a $230 million proposal for behavioral health investments that would increase school-based mental health services, including for children that are that are unhoused or housing insecure. Thanks, trying to get that language right. So $230 million. We can hear, you guys will hear the executive branch. You'll hear folks talking about, we want to do this. An executive order just came out the other day, but listen here. We can say we want to do all the things, but right now the budget ain't got nothing in it that is going to help anybody do any services, right? Well, it's got stuff in it, but if there was an initiative that you were concerned with that was on the table in the 2023 General Assembly session that needed a budget amendment, and a budget amendment is saying, hey, I know this is here. I want you to make a change and give a little bit more money here. None of that exists right now. None of that exists. And as far as I know, there's rumors that I may have to go back to Richmond after the primary. I may have to go back to Richmond after these primaries to work on possibly a caboose bill, right, to put onto the budget so that we can get these things funded. I have a budget amendment in that's for the medical examiner's office, so bodies don't start stacking up and we can keep no medical examiner, no murder conviction, right? Like you can't, no knowing the cause of death. So this skinny budget, as I love Shar, the teacher, Shar says skinny budget has no teeth. Yeah, the skinny budget that we passed, this is just, and I know I'm going a little bit over, the skinny budget that we passed was simply to make sure that the Commonwealth stayed afloat. We fixed the school education funding that we needed. We made sure the Virginia retirement system was funded. We made sure that, we paid our bills, that the stock market didn't think we were going to crash. And then we funded we made sure there was funding for the capital projects, meaning those big projects that needed to happen, that we had to put money into. We just stayed afloat, right? We did not rob Peter to pay Paul. We just paid Paul. And now we still need money for this other stuff. So that's where it's at. As soon as I know something about what's going to happen with the budget, you all will know. But it's things like this where community resources and organizations are seeing that there's money out there, but we haven't allocated it. Quite frankly, that's because the governor, and I can say this, right? The governor and the majority and the Republican Party have voted for these tax cuts for people that don't need them. And it's so big, millions of dollars in tax cuts, right? Like rather than doing the things like increasing the earned income tax credit, rather than getting money to schools, they're like, let's give people tax breaks. Well, y'all understand when a tax break comes for a business, ultimately that gap has to go somewhere. And I think I explained it this way, just like when we got rid of the grocery tax, y'all. So that meant, or when we were trying to get, what was it we're trying to get rid of? The gas tax, when we're trying to get rid of the gas tax, what happened, y'all? So the gas tax paid for two things: transportation, it paid for transportation infrastructure, and I can't remember what else. But when you take that tax away, that money got to come from somewhere else, right? I broke this down on a live before. That money got to come from somewhere else. That's a whole problem. So y'all stay with it. If you have anything that you need from me, I'll say this lastly. I'm Jackie Glass, Mama Navy vet, certified dual lace up legislator for the House of Delegates 89th District. I am earning my way to serve in the 93rd District. If you didn't get to come to our redistricting webinar, shame on you. I'm just kidding. But it is available on all the Facebook, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's on our it is on our YouTube channel as well as Twitter. So you can go back and look at the redistricting and see how everything is set up if you want to know where we're representing. No money, no mission. So I always ask if you can contribute to the cause that we're doing. In the comments, there's a link that you can contribute so that we can keep doing the work that we're doing. Until then, maybe I'll see you this Saturday at Norfolk Can Fly. Maybe I'll see you at Norfolk Can Fly. If not, I will catch you next Tuesday. And be well, doers. Doers get more done. Let's get to it. Make it a great one. See y'all. Take care. Be well.